Welcome to our episode of Barb Saturdays, and this week I decided to take a look at Snow Buddies, the 7th entry in the Air Bud franchise, which is currently comprised of 14 films. Yeah. How you managed to make 13 sequels to the original Air Bud is beyond me. Though I could probably say the same thing about The Land Before Time, because it also has 13 sequels. Like, how do you keep making sequels to these movies? I mean, seriously, Airbud had a very simple premise and could be a very self-contained story. You didn't really need a sequel, much less 13 of them. I suppose you could always come up with some other sport that you can participate in, right? Football, soccer. Obviously, I'm talking about American football there, but yeah. I imagine if dog movies come back in a big way, we'll end up seeing more buddy movies. Because why not, right? As far as other stuff goes, I suppose we should also hit up the controversy surrounding this movie. Because there actually is a controversy that surrounds this film. And once you hear of it, you're like, gosh darn it, Disney, how could you do that? Obviously, the controversy doesn't surround the contents of this film. Because let's face it, this is a G-rated movie, so it's not the contents we're going to be talking about here. During the making of this film, 5 Golden Retriever puppies died. At least 5. Maybe more died, but we only have confirmations on 5 of the puppies that were involved in the making of this film dying. 3 were put down, I guess, like on set. 1 was put down later, and another was sent back to the breeder, I guess, sick and passed away. So yeah, at least 5 puppies that we know of died to make this film. So when you buy this film, you're supporting puppy murderers. Good thing I got used. But yeah, kind of depressing to think about. Like, I don't know if we should blame the breeders, because apparently Disney says they were sent underage dogs, so they weren't given all their proper shots yet, so they weren't vaccinated against certain viruses that were going around at the time, and that led to them getting sick and eventually have to be put down or passing away. Or if we should blame the animal handlers and they're just trying to come up with some excuse to cover their butts, and try and, just bury the controversy as much as possible so, no one, talks about it. So I'm honestly surprised it's not a more well-known fact about this film that 5 puppies died in the making of it. As far as the film itself goes, I suppose we should dig into my biggest gripe right off the bat. The fact that the buddies talk. It's not exactly uncommon for cats and dogs to talk in films. After all, they do that in Milo and Otis. But with this film, they throw in lip flaps with CGI, and it looks awful. Like, just have them deliver their lines and not worry about the lip flaps. It's a dog or cat. Most people probably aren't going to care if they don't see the lip flaps. Plus, your special effect for that looks unbelievably awful and fake anyway, so it's just distracting. And eventually you adapt to it, but you look at it and you're like, gosh darn, can they please take away the lip flaps? Please, for the love of God. But yeah, maybe one of these days I'll talk about Milo and Otis or Homeward Bound. We'll see. I don't know if I have a copy of Homeward Bound on hand, but I'm sure I'll eventually see a copy pop up in Walmart or Goodwill again at some point. As it stands, I suppose I could talk about Milo and Otis at some point. It's been a long time since I've watched this one. As far as the rest of the film goes, it's alright for the most part. I don't understand why we have to have, a rival musher. That's not just a pure straight up rival, because he's just so good at what he does. He's like, I got, like, the best dogs. Like, these are my family right here. I take good care of my dogs, and they're the best dogs there are. And the buddies having to prove that they're better than, the best dogs out there, supposedly, when it comes to being, sled dogs. Instead, you're like, let's make this guy, really nasty and evil. The kind of guy that will, attack other mushers while they're on the trail, because there's no one out there to catch them on camera. So he's like, I can kick them, I can whip them. I can, take my knife and cut the lines on their, connecting their sleds to their dogs so the musher goes flying off a hill and hopefully doesn't die, because I'd hate to be accused of murder or reckless endangerment. Of course, I don't know how he hasn't been accused of that yet anyway, because if he's constantly doing this every single year, You think someone would be like, I know who messed with those lines. And even if they can't, find hard proof of it, if you have enough accusations coming your way, eventually people are going to take notice. Especially since everyone in the town seems to know that he's behind these accidents anyway, considering everyone hates him, despite being a champion dog sled racer. Everyone's just like, boo, as soon as he comes out and starts throwing snowballs and stuff at him. So yeah, I don't know how he hasn't been investigated, or have people, trying to follow him around and see if he's acting up to snuff when he's racing, or something, like put some hidden cameras out there to try and catch him doing something underhanded that you can nail him for, like I said, like reckless endangerment with causing someone to go flying off a hill. Because let's face it, if they end up going off over a cliff or something and falling to their death, that would be on him. So you could probably throw charges like manslaughter on there too, if that happens. So yeah, I don't know why he has to be such a nasty antagonist, because isn't there going to be enough of, an antagonist, effectively with the buddies having to find a way home? Considering they ended up going from Washington all the way up to Alaska. So, yeah, we gotta find our way home, and the fastest way to the airport's gonna be competing in this dog sled race. So, we're gonna be doing a dog sled race for this film. So they don't even have to win the dog sled race. Like, just competing, and, could have been the challenge itself, because you gotta worry about, blizzards and all kinds of other stuff happening on the trail, or running across areas where, you might be crossing a lake and realize, oh, there's thin ice and have to go around it, or one of the buddies, plops in the water and you have to find a way to pull them back out safely. Like, there's ways you could make a film about this and not have to have a nasty musher in there for no apparent reason, because just getting from Alaska back to Washington could have been, an antagonist in and of itself, a challenge to overcome. So throwing in a nasty musher just feels really cheap and unnecessary. So yeah, I don't really care for that guy either. And he's not in the film enough to really set himself up as a very big antagonist to care about anyway. Like, he has a few scenes where he's taunting the main character's father, if we ignore the buddies and focus on a human main character with Adam. So he comes in, he's like, starts taunting Adam's father about how, he doesn't race dogs anymore after he lost his team, and giving him crap. And of course his dogs are all French and snooty just like he is. Because, we got a stereotype as well about how nasty the French are. Ugh. Outside of that stuff, it's just very average. Nothing to really write home about. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of those movies that you can just skip over. And you probably should, because of the whole puppy thing. Till next time, then. See ya.
If I catch you, 9 lives won't be enough.